if you are listening to this, I think I already know something about you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you are the kind of person who really wants to gain a deep, thorough understanding of the world. And you want to do it quickly.
Right.
You are insanely curious, but you also probably absolutely hate that feeling of information overload.
Oh, it's the worst.
Exactly. You want the insight, the big aha moment, but without having to wade through a mountain of jargon to get there. Well, you are in the exact right place.
Definitely.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into the evolution of digital communication. Specifically, we are looking at a beta platform called Seminara. And we're going to explore the deeply fascinating, highly analytical philosophical frameworks of its founder, Shivam Salam.
It is a perfect topic for us to explore today because it really touches on a universal pain point. I mean, whether you are an educator, a startup founder, or leading a massive sales team, your ability to generate value is just directly tied to your ability to explain your ideas.
Right, getting the point across.
Exactly. But scaling yourself, scaling your own time, your own energy, your own actual physical presence is incredibly difficult. You only have so many hours in the day to give that perfect pitch or, teach that crucial concept.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the sources we are looking at today highlight this massive roadblock in how we currently communicate at scale. They actually call it the inefficiency gap.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have ever had to give the exact same presentation more than, say, 3 times, you have felt this gap in your bones. Just think about how we do presentations right now. On one hand, you have live sessions.
Right. Live webinars, sales calls, coaching.
They're fantastic for engagement because you are right there, interacting. You can read the virtual room.
But they are terrible for scale.
Totally.
They rely entirely on a human being, you being present, alert, and available. You cannot scale beyond your own physical time and energy. If you're doing a live product demo, you can only be in one Zoom room at a time.
Yeah, you can't clone yourself.
Right. And let's be honest, by the 50th time you deliver that exact same live demo, your energy is going to dip. The enthusiasm wanes.
Absolutely. The audience can literally hear the fatigue in your voice.
Right.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you have pre-recorded sessions. A recorded video scales perfectly.
Sure does.
You can just send a YouTube link to 1 million people all at once. You record it on your best day when your energy is a 10 out of 10. But the engagement.
It's virtually zero.
It's zero. It is entirely static. It cannot adapt to the audience. It cannot answer a sudden question. And if someone gets confused at minute 5,
They just close the tab?
they're gone. So the friction of trying to scale your own expertise without losing that adaptive human touch is a massive bottleneck in the modern digital economy. You're basically forced to choose between reaching a massive audience poorly or reaching a tiny audience perfectly.
Exactly. So if live presentations don't scale and recorded videos don't engage, you have to ask what the middle ground is. And that is exactly the gap this new platform called Seminara is trying to fill. Seminara is billed as an agentic presentation teammate, and the star of the show is its AI host named Aura.
Now, they use this word agentic, which, I don't know about you, but it always sounds a bit like sci-fi jargon to me. What does that actually mean for the user who just wants to give a good presentation?
It's a great question. If you aren't deep in the AI space, agentic really just means the software has agency.
Okay.
It is actively making decisions on its own based on what it hears. I think a lot of people immediately picture those clunky customer service chatbots.
Oh, man, the worst.
Right, or a static video avatar where the mouth just moves along to a pre-written script.
Yeah, uncanny valley stuff.
Exactly. That is not Aura. Aura actually presents your slides, follows the structure you gave it, and maintains a steady pace. But the key difference is that it actively listens for questions and interruptions from the audience in real time.
Okay, hold on. This is where I start to get a little skeptical.
Yeah.
If I'm deploying an AI to handle my audience, I'm kind of terrified it's going to go off the rails. How does it actually interact?
It adapts the flow of the presentation based on attendee interaction, but it keeps the guardrails up. If someone asks a relevant question, Aura pauses, answers it, and seamlessly transitions back into the presentation.
Wow.
And crucially, it handles the reinforcement of your key moments. It naturally guides the audience toward your call to action without applying any of this awkward, high-pressure sales tactic we all dread when we're watching a webinar.
Nobody likes being sold to like that. And what I find really intriguing is how you can deploy this host. There are 2 distinct modes. The first one is what they call infinite intimacy.
Yes, the personal one-to-one mode. In this setting, Aura is actually holding a unique, completely private conversation with every single attendee simultaneously.
Wait, but if I have 100 people in a room
Yeah.
and they're all asking Aura different questions at the exact same time,
Yeah.
doesn't the presentation completely derail? How does the AI keep them on track?
That is the beauty of the architecture. To the attendee, it feels like they're the only person in the room. Aura is answering John's question about pricing over here while simultaneously explaining a technical feature to Sarah over there.
It's wild.
It manages 100 parallel private threads, but always steers each individual back to the core narrative of the slides. This is incredibly powerful for things like coaching sessions, sales discovery calls, or user interviews, where that personalized, intimate engagement is what actually drives value.
It is quite literally having 100 versions of yourself, having 100 different deep conversations at the exact same moment. But then on the flip side, you have the infinite scale mode.
Right, the event setting.
Yeah, the interactive event setting.
Yeah.
Instead of private conversations, Aura presents to the entire audience all at once, just like a traditional keynote or a massive company all-hands meeting. It handles the Q&A via chat and actually reacts to the energy of the room in real time.
What's fascinating here is how this platform fundamentally redefines the act of presenting. Seminara completely separates the preparation of a presentation from the performance of it.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
For centuries, preparing a speech and delivering a speech were inextricably linked by the same human performing both. Now you prepare once, and the host, the software, handles the performance.
Let's actually walk through how someone uses this because the workflow is so clever. It is a 4-step process. Step 1 is prepare. You hand over your slides, your background knowledge, and your intent. You are basically giving Aura the context of what the session needs to achieve, and you also get to control the voice, the tone, and the limits of the host. You dictate how formal or conversational it is, and you set strict boundaries so it stays within your brand's knowledge base.
Which leads to step 2, and arguably the most important phase, rehearse.
Oh my goodness, the test mode. We have to geek out over this for a second because this is where the platform really won me over.
It's so good.
Before anyone ever sees your presentation, you run it privately in test mode. You sit there and watch Aura host the session exactly as it would live. But because it is a test, you can purposefully interrupt it.
You can try to break it.
Exactly. You can throw absolute curveball questions at it, test its responses, tell it that it's talking too fast, give it feedback, and just refine the entire flow securely.
It allows you to verify your assets, your slide transitions, and the AI's adaptability without broadcasting to a single live attendee. You are effectively directing a rehearsal with a tirelessly patient actor who will run the scene as many times as you want until it is perfect.
And the real-world impact of this is just undeniable. We have some incredible quotes from early users in our sources. Elena R., she's a corporate trainer, she actually said, "I stopped repeating the same demo live. The test mode alone changed how I ship sessions."
That's massive for a trainer.
Right. And then there is David C., a Sauce founder, who noted, "The Q&A felt natural, not scripted, or I actually stayed on topic instead of rambling." That is the magic of setting those strict knowledge limits back in step 1.
Once you are satisfied with that rehearsal, you move to step 3, go live. You simply share a link or a code, and Aura takes over in real time. You do not need to be on camera. You do not even need to be online.
Which is crazy to think about.
It really is. And finally, step 4 is engage. The attendees join, ask questions, and are guided to the next steps.
But the session ending isn't actually the end. Aura has this incredibly deep post-session memory.
Precisely. Seminara preserves the context of those interactions to build a persistent memory. After the session, the platform generates personalized follow-ups for the attendees, referencing specific highlights from their individual conversations.
Wow.
It even assigns an intent score to the attendees.
Yeah, I saw that in the notes. There was an example of an attendee with a 92% intent score. What does that actually look like in practice? Like, how does it calculate that?
It means the AI analyzed the specific questions that person asked, how deeply they engaged with the material, and what friction points they hit. It realizes they aren't just browsing, they are highly motivated to take the next step.
That is gold for a sales team.
Pure gold. So instead of you having to guess which of the 100 attendees you should email first, the system essentially hands you a qualified list. It doesn't just present. It qualifies the audience for you.
What strikes me is that this isn't just locked away in some enterprise ivory tower. The barrier to entry is basically gone. They offer a free trial that gives you a couple of 10-minute live sessions just to test it out.
Right.
Then there is a pro tier at $59 a month, which gives you 10 live sessions and 25 test sessions. And for massive teams running endless webinars, the Ultra tier is $799 a month for 180 live sessions.
That range is impressive.
The fact that a solo course creator can use the exact same underlying teammate as a massive corporate HR department shows how rapidly the barriers to scaling this kind of AI are dropping.
It is a remarkable piece of technology, but technology is rarely created in a vacuum. It is usually the byproduct of how its creator views the world.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the architect behind Seminara and the OmniAI Club is a man named Shivam Sulam. And his origin story is not your typical Silicon Valley narrative at all.
Not even close.
Shivam actually grew up in Dimapur, Nagaland. Now, if you are familiar with the Indian startup ecosystem, you know that Dimapur rarely, if ever, appears on that map. He has talked about how that made him feel entirely invisible to the tech world. He started out with no clients, no network, just failures.
And his initial path was drastically different from tech, too. He was actually studying for a Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but 2015 was the year of his pivot. He radically shifted away from his medical studies to dive into racing, music, entrepreneurship, and fundamentally, the study of systems.
He actually wrote about leaving a medicine lecture when he was 20 years old. He described the hospital corridor smelling faintly of antiseptic and fatigue. And to go from that incredibly specific, heavy environment to eventually founding a platform like Seminara.
And winning the Northeast Innovation Week.
Yes. Being on the founding team that won the Northeast Innovation Week in 2025, it is just an amazing trajectory of discovery.
It really is quite a leap. But if you analyze his transition between 2016 and 2018 into growth and digital systems, you can actually see the remnants of his medical background. He treats business growth with a diagnosis-like approach.
How so? Like he's looking for symptoms in a company.
Exactly. A doctor doesn't just look at a cough. They look at the underlying systemic failure causing the cough. Shivam describes his core positioning as treating growth as a first principles problem.
Okay, breaking it down.
Right. Before he looks at tools, technology, or products, he looks at human behavior. He diagnoses the patient, the business, by understanding people, constraints, incentives, and momentum. He is looking for the root cause of why a business isn't scaling.
And he has externalized this thinking into a whole series of mental models.
Yes, and it is vital to note that Shivam explicitly states that mental models are not hacks. They are not life advice disguised as productivity tips. They are foundational truths.
I love that.
You cannot growth hack a broken system. You have to deconstruct the problem into fundamental truths about user psychology and market constraints.
Let's look at one of his specific frameworks. Incentives and systems. Shivam has this brilliant quote. He says, "Systems don't fail because they're complex. They fail because the incentives of the people running them are misaligned." I mean, just think about that.
It's powerful.
How often do we blame the software or the corporate structure when the real issue is just that the people involved aren't actually motivated to make it work?
It connects directly to his definition of incentives as external motivators that explain the behavior of individuals and systems. He writes, "Show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome."
Wow.
When you view a business not as isolated components, but as interconnected networks of feedback loops, you realize that aligning those incentives is the only way to generate compound growth.
So if I am reading his frameworks right, he also looks at business through these two lenses, friction and leverage. I'm imagining friction is like pushing a massive boulder up a muddy hill, just anything slowing the user down.
A confusing checkout page, a slow website, or having to wait 3 weeks to book a live demo with a sales rep. But how does he define leverage in this context? Is it just throwing money at the problem?
Not at all. Leverage in Shivam's framework is like finding a giant metal bar and a fulcrum to move that boulder for you. He defines leverage as the ratio of output to input. Code and media are the highest leverage activities because they allow for nonlinear results from linear effort.
Okay, I see.
You write a piece of code once, or you record a presentation once, and it can do the work of 1,000 laborers simultaneously, indefinitely.
So what does this all mean? How does this philosophy of growth, friction, and leverage tie back to an AI host named Aura?
Seminara is the ultimate tangible expression of Shivam's mental models. It is pure leverage. It is using code and agentic AI teammate to do the incredibly labor-intensive work of presenting, answering questions, and following up. You input your slides once, and the output is potentially infinite live sessions.
Right.
And simultaneously, it completely removes friction. because nobody has to wait for a scheduled webinar next Thursday. They can get the presentation right now.
Exactly. We saw this in the testimonials. A startup founder named Jason L. specifically noted, "I didn't feel pressure to perform, or kept things moving without me being on."
Yeah, that being on feeling is exhausting.
It is. Seminara eliminates the friction of needing a human to be alert, scheduled, and available 24/7. It aligns the incentive of the business to scale with the attendee's desire to get immediate, personalized answers.
It is taking all that philosophical theory and turning it into a very practical time-saving tool. But Shivam's writings go even deeper than just business strategy. There is a specific essay in our stack titled Thinking Externalized that completely reframes how we should look at AI.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Shivam argues that human intelligence has never been confined to the skull. Historically, thinking has always been unequally distributed. But more importantly, it has always been distributed outside of our physical bodies.
This blew my mind when I read it. He traces this incredible historical context. He says that AI is not some unnatural departure from human history. It is simply the next layer in a very long trajectory of cognitive tools. Thousands of years ago, we externalized our memory onto clay tablets so we wouldn't have to hold every transaction in our heads. Then we moved to paper notebooks to externalize complex math and stories. And now we're externalizing our logic and interaction into AI.
Precisely. Seminara isn't replacing the human presenter. It is capturing the human presenter and turning them into software. Aura is not a video. It is an extension of the creator's mind, holding their knowledge, enforcing their boundaries, and speaking in their tone, but operating outside the physical limitations of their body. It is cognitive externalization at its absolute peak.
And the way you build that externalized mind requires failure. Shivam has another great concept called the paper toss principle.
This is a great one.
He writes about how crumpled failures build mastery. You don't get a perfect masterpiece on the first try. You write, you fail, you crumple the paper, and you toss it. That crumpled paper is proof of the process. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier with Seminara's test mode.
It is entirely connected. That test mode is a digital wastebasket for crumpled papers. It allows the user to fail privately. You can rehearse, mess up the flow, realize the AI needs better instructions, and toss that version out before you ever succeed publicly.
It's built right in.
The philosophy of the founder is literally baked into the user interface of the software. It proves that you cannot divorce the tool from the mind that built it.
It is so rare to see a piece of technology that so perfectly mirrors the worldview of the person who built it. We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started by looking at a very real, very exhausting problem, the inefficiency gap in how we present and scale our ideas. We explored how Seminara and its AI host, Aura, solve this by giving you an agentic teammate that can hold an infinite number of intimate conversations or command a massive room, all while completely separating your preparation from the actual performance.
The leverage is incredible.
And then we peeled back the curtain to look at the mind of Shivam Salam. We traced his journey from a medical student in Dimapur feeling invisible to a systems thinker who treats business growth like a medical diagnosis. We learned that by understanding friction, leverage, and the externalization of human thought, you can build tools that don't just mimic humans, but scale their very presence.
This raises an important question, though. We have established that technology is a historical continuum. Clay tablets externalized our memory so we didn't have to remember everything. Notebooks externalized our complex math. Now, AI platforms like Seminara are externalizing our ability to present, converse, and interact in real time at an infinite scale. But if perfect, tireless, infinitely scalable interaction becomes the baseline, what happens to the intrinsic value of raw, unpolished, face-to-face human vulnerability? When you no longer have to be live to deliver a perfect presentation, does live human presence become obsolete? Or does it swing the other way entirely, becoming the ultimate, rare premium luxury in a world saturated by perfect AI scale?
Wow. That is exactly the kind of question that stays with you long after you stop listening. A huge thank you to you for joining us on this deep dive. Whether you are building a business, trying to scale your own expertise, or just trying to navigate a world that is moving faster every day, I hope you walk away from this with a completely new lens. Keep looking for the leverage, keep trying to reduce the friction, and never stop questioning the systems around you. We will catch you next time.